Well, today I made my first challenge lock, the second requirement for my LPU Blue Belt qualification. The requirements for a Blue Belt were to pick, gut, and reassemble a Blue Belt level lock, and I completed that in my last video where I picked, gutted, and reassembled an American Lock 1100. To make the challenge lock, there are some requirements there too. You have to make no less than 6 modifications to the lock. They can include a pin modification, where no less than 15% of the pin was modified. Lock body modifications, custom key modifications as well. For this lock, I modified 4 of the driver pins and 1 key pin, and also modified the body for a total of 6 modifications. I had a bit of trouble getting started with this actually. I just thought I'd be able to throw the pins into my rotary tool and go nuts with a file or two, but quickly ran into problems with that plan. This would have been much easier if I had some brass rod to do this with, but instead had some spare 1100 pins, and they were small and they are short. Getting them into the collet and the collet collar in place quickly made the pin disappear into the tool, and there's no room to work anymore. So I had to devise another plan. I ended up taking one of the collets of my rotary tool and putting that into the chuck of my drill. It ended up being a pretty good choice because I could get a really firm grip on the pin with the collet and the collet in the drill chuck. We were finally off to the races. Next, I had to deal with my crappy selection of needle files that I had acquired over the years. Probably secondhand originally, and they've been sitting in a box in a drawer for the last 10 years. They weren't in the best condition, and they weren't diamond files either. This was going to take some work. Luckily, brass is pretty soft and won't be standing over the drill all day long doing it. I was able to get the pins done in about an hour. I essentially ended up making serrated spools out of the serrated pins, so kind of back at square one here, but I made these, not American Lock. They aren't exactly pretty, so I think you'll be able to tell the difference between my pins and the factory pins, and a few of them are a little bit more rounded towards the shallow part of the spool, so that should provide some interesting feedback. I also modified one of the driver pins as well, and that went easy because I chose a long pin. The only tip I can offer if you end up doing it the way I did is don't press down too hard. The pin is being held by a fraction of the total length of the pin, and it doesn't take much downward pressure to have the pin pop out and go flying. I had to dig 2 of them out from under my bench I was working on. I then modified the body of the lock by sending out the anodization. I could have done this an easier way, and apparently it's quite easy to remove anodization by using oven cleaner and a bit of patience. And I had neither, but I guess I do the task the hard way so you don't have to. Once I had a thin layer of anodization off, I then attempted to polish it up with what was supposed to be polishing compound in my rotary toolkit, but it really didn't do too much. I ended up in the kitchen with some cream of tartar powder and a little bit of water that made a paste that actually did a much better job than the polishing bit in my rotary tool. And it only took a few seconds of polishing to get a nice finish. Anyway, all said and done and finally back together with the name crudely carved into the side and on the key, I present you Sex Toy. It is my toy and I plan sharing this out to WhoNeedsAKey first, who has offered to give it a shot. I suspect it won't be too difficult, but hopefully it can make the rounds as a blue level challenge lock for those climbing the belt ladder. Well, that's all I have for you today. Off to submit all of this for my official blue belt entry, so fingers crossed. Take care and talk to you soon.